responsive classroom and all present materials involving responsive classroom from the classrooms and all Riverside local school district buildings, and to cease any further training and or instruction involving responsive classroom. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
So I'd just like to say that in my tenure at Riverside, you try to make the best call you can, but I will tell you that I have regretted the fact that I voted for responsive classroom. I'm sure that there are some positive aspects to it, but I do believe that there are other professional development curriculum and programs that would allow for the continued professional development of the staff, and it's responsive classroom has an element of SEL, which I am against. It's my understanding we're not really using that at this point, but it is something that I wish were not included in our curriculum. I personally don't like the fact that we are supporting an organization that has SEL as part of it, even if we're not utilizing that. So I am definitely in favor of removing it. I do believe that, as I said, we can find other professional development programs that would be suitable for Riverside and get us what we need and not have the SEL component. So that's my perspective.
I believe there is a requirement from the state that we do have some type of social emotional learning. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. There are standards that we
have to meet.
to teach to the whole child, correct? Mm-hmm.
Just to make clear too, this is kind of a different type of resolution. So be mindful, the way I understand it, if you vote aye, you want to get rid of it. If you vote nay, you want to keep it. Which is different than.
As long as we don't understand.
But is my understanding with the SEL is that they are standards, but they're not funded, they're not enforced. Because there are definitely different local control. There are different levels of SEL depending on the district. So, I think that is in play as well. So I do believe that we have the wherewithal as a board with local control to pursue that as we see fit.
Can I ask what's changed since the last couple of times we've discussed this? Has anything changed or anything else come to light?
It is, I believe that it's important that we have a statement as a board on what we want to do.
But haven't we done that like 3 times already? Didn't we say the last time that we voted on this, unless something new came up, we were not going to do this again?
We never formally voted on it.
Because there was not a resolution to vote on it.
Right, so this is bringing up to remove it.
But again,
And-
what has
Yeah.
changed that
And
it's
I
come back
think-
to the table? Because we said.
We
no,
said we wouldn't do it again
We
unless
said we
something
wouldn't do
changed.
this.
We wouldn't do what?
Bring something
Bring it
back
to
to
the
the
table again.
table unless something's changed. We
I'm sorry,
said
there were
this-
2 people talking. Could you,
Go
one
ahead,
person
Madam
speak?
Clerk.
No, we specifically said last time, and we all decided that unless something changed, we were not going to bring this up again. And nothing has changed. No new information has come to light. Nothing is different. Just wanting to bring it out again so that we all have to vote on it again.
And even during the previous time we discussed this, but we asked for additional information. We asked for the resources to the material you provided. You did not provide that. We asked for evidence from the curriculum, or it's not even curriculum, from the professional development. What was bad about it? We asked for evidence that says this is why it's bad. Instead of judging it by its label, what is bad with what they're doing? Parkside employs a morning meeting, which is part of what they've learned here. I have gone, I've watched it. I don't know if you saw it when you were at Buckeye. But it's a meeting that engages our students and gets them ready for learning for the day. So we're saying if this is approved, they no longer can do that. That you cannot have your morning meeting. And it's something that they credit to the success that their school's having.
It may be what you're saying is true, except for the last part where we are certainly able to pursue other professional development, which may have elements of that as well. It's not that we're saying there's no professional development. It's that we could choose other programs that provide professional development. And to Mrs. Harden's point, we did bring it up, but this board, the board that originally approved the responsive classroom is not this board. That was the previous board. This board has not voted on it. And again, I did vote for it back in the previous board. I regret it, and I'd like to correct that vote.
Now, to answer your question about it, information, I had given everyone the presentation that I had given in the curriculum committee that outlined the issues, and so I handed that to
Correct.
each individual board member. So you're
I agree
saying
with
you have not seen that?
I've seen it, I asked for the resources. When I read information, I want to know where it's coming from, because I want to know what perspective it's being written in. And we asked for that 2 times via email, so it's public record. And I asked also for the evidence within the actual professional development 2 times that you feel is wrong and is tied to social, emotional, or whatever you think is wrong with it, okay? And we never received that. So multiple times, we've requested additional information to consider, to try to work as a board, and it's not been provided. And it hasn't been to date. I don't know if anybody's received anything.
Well, I've discussed it and spoken on it extensively.
Mr. Fisher, you're not a professional.
And for you, I'm not a professional.
In social emotional
Is that-
learning, are you a professional in
wait,
social
wait.
emotional learning?
What does that have to do with removing the program?
Because you're telling us to believe what you have given us without resources. And I'm sorry, that's not responsible of me as a board member.
Okay, so the information that I gave you, some of the pages had resources attached to it, and also if you wanted me to go back and get every single item from every single website that I had gotten, what I said was you can simply go to Responsive Classroom, you can go to Castle, you can go to other entities, and you can see what the program is, where it came from. It originated at the Frankfurt School. All this is Marxist, it's socialism, okay? So the idea is to bring it into the school and have a program that socializes the kids through social emotional learning instead of educating the kids on information is not appropriate, I believe. And so I am making a motion to remove it from the schools because I believe it's harmful and it's a harmful first step. And we have Dr. Patino here who works at Shaker, and he might be able to expand a little further that at Shaker it was brought in at a low level, and at Shaker they now have a full-blown social emotional learning CRT basically program going on there, including a DIE person, a diversity, inclusion, and the E is socialism, equity and socialism, the same thing. So at Shaker, it started out at a very low level, and now it's full-blown. Here, trying to nip it in the bud and remove it, because we don't want it here. And people of this district do not want it here.
So can I ask a question? Once we vote on this agenda item, if it doesn't go your way, are we going to have to vote on this again?
Ms. Grassi,
I would like to know,
Ms.
like,
Grassi,
we're going to-
I'm looking at a vote on this right now.
Yes.
And that's all we're discussing right now.
Yeah, I just want to know, are we going to have to vote on it again if it doesn't go your way? Because this is what happens all the time. I'm just asking, like, we've discussed this, and now we're discussing it now, and I have no problem with that. We can vote. However the vote goes, are we going to have to discuss this again?
So we have never voted on this.
So we're going to vote on it now. I'm asking
Okay.
you a question. Are we going to have to do this again if it doesn't go your way?
And that's an inappropriate statement, and it's not worthy of discussion.
You know, that's,
Okay,
you
so
gave it.
I have a question for Dr. Malacher. So you are the person in the room who I suspect is most familiar with professional development training. Are there other professional development programs that could be potentially implemented, which would allow for the professional development that you believe is appropriate for our teaching staff that would not have elements of SEL in it?
This is social emotional learning. So when you talk about gathering kids on the rug and teaching them conflict management, that's what falls under that umbrella. So when you ask, are there ways to train teachers on how to work with students that don't incorporate social emotional learning, those two things are not exclusive. So if you were to say to me, Melissa, we don't like XYZ, we don't want equity training, and I could say we don't do that. we don't want this. And I could say, okay, we could make sure that we don't do that. There is a very broad umbrella of social emotional learning of which we have put responsive classroom under. There is no program that you're going to say, let's teach teachers how to work better with students that don't incorporate, communication skills. That falls under the SEL umbrella. Conflict management, that falls under the SEL umbrella. So we can't separate those two things, that clearly as you would like it to be. I understand, again, we may disagree on.
But here's the point, is communications and getting along with people existed in our curriculum, and I'm sure in professional development before the term SEL, which does have communist roots, was brought into place. So they've usurped some of the things that are fundamentally basic to our ability to teach. The problem that I have, and perhaps Mr. Official has as well, is that it doesn't stop there. It instead of focusing on the individual, it ends up trying to take away, ultimately it tries to prevent people from having independent thoughts. And it does that by, we have kindness, be known for your kindness and grace, which is a great saying overall. But they are using that as a segue to prevent criticism from things that maybe perhaps you disagree with.
I don't know who they is. So I don't know. I can't protect myself, our students, our community from they. All I can do is tell you what we are doing and how teachers use this in the classroom. I thought perhaps you had seen it when you were at Buckeye that morning, when you spent the day at Buckeye.
If you may recall, I saw a number of things.
Okay, if you were there in the morning, because that's pretty much how they all
Okay,
start.
but it was, as you may recall, it was a chaotic time.
Yes,
because
it was. But
everybody was ill, so I don't know what, no one explained to me exactly this is.
But that might be a good thing, because it's integrated into what we're doing, and it's part of our.
What I'm trying to differentiate, there are elements that I'm sure are covered that are fundamental to effective teaching. There's no doubt. I believe that SEL is usurping some of those, and it's a segue to other things that ultimately do not produce a free and functioning individual, which I ultimately believe is very important for us to have in place at Riverside, that we want to graduate citizens who are capable individuals, self-thinking and respect for everybody, but they don't need to be, if you don't respect somebody's choice, while you need to coexist with them, I believe, it doesn't mean that you are wrong or unkind if you think that they are wrong. And that's where SEL, in one way, comes into play, ultimately. So,
I don't disagree with anything you just said. I want to make sure our students are critically thinking. I want to make sure they can get out inside and make decisions. But when I saw what's going on with some of these tools, and when I went through the professional development, I went through the 2 books, there's nothing in there that's saying you can't disagree with somebody. It's actually teaching them that they are okay to disagree.
Yes. Thank
So
you.
that's what I'm saying. There's nothing here. There's no evidence in what we're doing that says it's being ruined by a label that's been applied to it that.
there's more to it. And so I think at this point, I don't know that we are,
Well,
is there any more discussion, I guess?
Well, I would add something. In the training manual for teachers, it specifically says and states that the company wants the teachers to spend as much time on social emotional learning as it does as they do on education. It's in the manual.
Can I address that? It says that those 2 things are equally important. It does not say that you should spend the same amount of time. It is equally important that I feed my dog as I feed my children, but I don't spend the same amount of time on those 2 things. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm making a point of things can be equally important, but not take the same amount of time out of your day. So that's what it says. It says they are equally important, not that we should spend the same amount of time. Because no way can we possibly spend the same amount of time on this as we do on academics, because academics are our primary responsibility in what we do. So I just wanted to clarify that because it's been said a couple of times and that's not what it says. It says they're equally important.
And so this program comes right out of Marxism, and it identifies throughout the literature equity, equity, equity. And if you go to the Responsive Classroom website, you will see that continually stated. Now that we are claiming that we're not doing that, does not take anything away from the program that we've brought in. I would like to remove that program and that information. Additionally, what is available to teachers is ongoing education such that you can go and get further information from them and further training. Are you aware of that, Dr. Merlocker?
Yes, we have not had anybody request to do additional training.
Okay.
The training that we did is the last time we did training, and no
And
one
that
has
isn't
requested.
available to any individual teacher as they deem they want to do that.
And they could do that on their own with any program.
Exactly. And so what I'm saying is this kind of training and teaching and indoctrination of Marxism, I believe needs to be removed. And I'll restate, the majority of the community wants this removed.
I disagree with that. I
You
have
can't make that
multiple emails. You have no way to prove that.
That's just such a blanket statement, you have no
Okay,
idea about.
So I am stating that the majority of the community wants it removed.
Your
That's, you
corner
can't
of the
say
community wants
that,
it
you don't know
removed.
that.
I think there's
You're one
people
fifth
in
of a
our audience
board.
that does not want it removed.
And you can disagree with that,
Great.
and that is my statement.
All right, so I don't know that there's anything else. Is there any other discussion on this? So just to remind you, an A means we are removing it, a nay means we are keeping it. It's your call for roll.
Can you take roll?
Scott Fishel,
Aye.
Tom Heck,
Aye.
Jennifer Harden,
Nay.
Lori Kniske,
Nay,
Linda Grassi.
Nay.
motion failed.